Hi, welcome back. I'm Anna Simblair Ricksteins, and this is the Enlightened Womanpreneur Virtual Summit. And I am so excited to have you here and to introduce you to our special guest today. This is Olympia Hostler. Welcome, Olympia.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. And for those of you that have never heard of Olympia or never met Olympia before, she is a wealth business coach. She is a wealth of information when it comes to anything talking about money and generating wealth in your own life. She's the founder of Women Choose Wealth. And by the age of 33, Olympia was a corporate executive leading multi-billion-dollar programs, making more than $50 million in sales, facilitating sales of more than 10 billion, and leading teams of up to 100. So this woman knows what she's talking about. Olympia, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Good. Well, I'd love for just to start by you sharing some of your story and your background and how you got to be where you are today.
Well, it's a good story. Let's see. I'll do the Reader's Digest condensed version for us.
Perfect.
So I was a corporate executive when I was 33, and I was not the happiest camper. That's what I ever only wanted to be in my life. Like, I wanted to be leading companies. And I didn't really understand that there was a difference between leading my own company and leading a corporation, somebody else's company. And so I didn't like it. I didn't like that part about it. I loved the run. I loved the work I did. I just didn't like the corporate structure and the bureaucracy. It was just way too limiting. And frankly, it was bumping up against my morals and my values. You know, they wanted me to lie and to cheat and to steal. And I couldn't do that. So I exited, and it's a good thing I did, because then I started my own business consulting company 25 years ago, and I've never looked back.
That's so amazing. And I love that you had the courage because, on this summit, we're talking a lot about fear and we're talking a lot about those things that there's always something. Generally, there's at least one, usually a multitude of fears that start to appear when you
Yeah.
see that you need to make a change and there's something that you know that you want to do or you want to do more. But when that comes up, it's the question, like, are you going to just keep it status quo, or are you just going to try to find a way around it? So for you, obviously, I imagine that was really scary
It was,
to change like that.
yeah, it was really scary. And it didn't happen overnight, Aniston. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had contemplated and I had gone into the fear monsters for several years before that, because I was making a lot of money, had a
Yeah.
lot of power. I had the golden handcuffs. Like, all I had to do was warm a chair and I'd be a multi millionaire, but I just couldn't do it. So I did have to reach that point where the fear of not knowing what I would do next, because I really had no idea what I would do next. So when
Yeah.
that fear was less than the pain of staying in my current situation, that's when I made the decision to just go. And it was my intuition that told me. And
Right.
I listened that time.
Like, we're not going to talk about every time. We're just going to talk about, listen, we all have the times we listened and the times we didn't listen. So in terms of your background, have you always been interested in sales? Has that always been something that you've been good at? How did you get started there?
Yes, I have this innate gift that has been amplified by my experience, and I have an MBA. And it's like a big problem solving for me.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses, growing businesses and having them be successful, and working with the owners specifically to make sure that they are doing what they need to do so that they can have their business grow. That is like my heaven. I am just so happy when I'm able to do that. And it actually comes naturally for me.
Right. That's amazing. And because, not to stereotype here by any means, but, oftentimes you see in the past, at least me growing up, it was always a man in that role. You know what I mean? And you didn't see a lot of really strong female models, like modeling what that looks like,
Right.
And thankfully in my career, I did have the privilege of working under some really strong females But I
Mhm.
imagine, I mean, you've been in this industry for so long that you've probably seen it has changed just so remarkably over the years. And so,
Yeah.
so obviously you left your job, you started consulting, and, now that you've been doing it for so long, where do you see that most, entrepreneurs or business, where do they go wrong when it comes to their beliefs about money and scaling and all of that? What do you see?
Where do they go wrong? Well, let's start. One of the biggest things is they don't think big enough.
Okay.
So they think small, and so that's what they're going to get is small. They also are overridden with fear
Hmm.
and overridden with the what I call the programming, the money virus. It's our thoughts, our beliefs, our decisions, our stuck emotions that we all have had about money. And that's really what's running our show. And so we need to be able to change our relationship with money to have it be more of a friends with benefits kind of relationship. And then that's when we can implement the systems and the tools and the strategies, because you can have all the great systems, you can have the great education, you can even have mentors, you can have a team, you can have all of that. But if it's something within you as the owner of that business, there's only so far you're going to ever be able to get out of the starting blocks.
Gotcha. I like what you said about friends with benefits with money, because that's something a little bit new. Can you unpack that a little bit and elaborate on that for our
I
listeners?
just kind of slid that one in.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was
You got
like,
it.
ooh.
I'll take that one, please.
Yeah.
That is something that I've developed over the years. And one of my signature talks is, would you date money? Because that's really what it's all about. It's about having a relationship and a true partnership with money, and money will take care of you. Money
Mhm.
loves you. You just need to make sure that you're loving it back, you know?
Right. Right.
And money is meant to flow. Money is feminine. It has a very feminine energy. And so when we can really change, and there's a lot of aspects to a relationship, just like there is with, human relationships, but the human money relationship, once we can really start to get comfortable dating it
Mhm.
and then progressing with the relationship, more of the knowing, the liking, the trusting, building that relationship, we can really have it be friends with benefits, and it will be there for us.
Mhm.
It's like having your own personal ATM machine. It's there on demand because you are one with money, so to speak.
Mhm. I actually really like that idea of thinking about it in terms of the dating relationship, because I mean, I feel like I have a good relationship with money now, but it wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
And, if I would have been honest with myself about how do I feel about money, it would have been very like hot and cold, very mixed, emotions around there. And so if you think about money as a person or as a relationship, then obviously that would cause some major imbalances, right? Because what I'm putting out is not necessarily what I think I want. Does that make sense? Like, I want more of it, but I don't really like you. It's
Right.
like, you know,
Right. I love you. Oh, I hate you.
yeah. Oh, but I mean,
I don't really
I love
trust
you
you.
sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
Like, you're the
Oh,
cause of my stress, but I
right.
need you. You know what
That's
I
right.
mean?
So it's
Um,
like a push and a pull. It's like you're doing this. Like,
yeah. Yeah. It's definitely
yeah.
polarizing. So, how would you recommend then that we start to detox the money, the misbeliefs or the negative fears and beliefs we have around money?
Well, it's a process. And so the first thing to start with is actually an awareness of what your money blocks are.
Okay.
So many of them are blind spots to people. Like they
Mhm.
can look around and they can go, okay, yeah, I don't have a lot of money, or money comes, but it mostly goes. They know their situation, but they aren't able to really illuminate what's at the core that is blocking them and that's
Mhm.
keeping them stuck. So, or they might just have a superficial idea of, oh, when I was a child, money was hard. So we really need to go into a little bit deeper of what specifically are those patterns and those programming elements. And then we change them in the mindset, the body set, and the heart set, because those are the three sources of the programming that is causing these money blocks. So when I say mindset, it's not the mamby-pamby stuff that you're hearing all over the place. The, mind over matter or affirmations. No, we're talking about literally going into your unconscious mind and flipping that switch. So what used to be the program is gone. We have a new healthy program that's a healthy relationship with money. And because if you try to change your thoughts about money, thoughts are superficial. They are conscious mind activities.
Right.
They're like up here. So you might as well be pissing in the wind, because it's not going to work so well for you. Because it's conscious mind. That's not where the program is. And it's the 5th step of 7 steps of how you do money. So if you're trying to change at the 5th step, what about steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 that are always going to be feeding into that 5th one? So I make the changes back here, and we make them in the body, which is so cool, because a lot of people don't think about the body being a source of these money blocks, but it is, because our nervous systems are under the fight, flight, freeze response. Hello, there's that fear again. So we need to reset and regulate our nervous system, and we need to build new neural pathways. So we just need to make sure that the body is clear, and then the heart needs to be clear from those stuck emotions, but also being able to reset ourselves to be able to receive, because so many people mistake receiving for taking. But that's not what it is. It's a give and a receive. And for us to receive, there is a giver. So it's a little bit of rethinking, but really repatterning is a better way to put it.
Right. I really like the giving and receiving. I like how you put that, because, I often have thought, anything, money is energy, right? Or it's just a part of the energetic world. And the way that energy works is very similar to what we would, maybe water, it needs to be able to flow. And anytime it gets stagnated, that's when things just start to go awry, right? You know what I mean? He starts to smell, things start to grow. And so money is meant to flow to you and through you, and then to you and through you. And it becomes like this beautiful dance, right? That you can receive and then give but knowing there's more coming. And that's where you really start to flow in. The other thing I was thinking about is that, so I've worked with sales teams before, and I've always found it really interesting how, when you can step back and observe, you can have someone come in, for instance, to a territory, and maybe they're selling something in a territory, and they have one result, and then they leave and go to a different territory, and another person comes in, same customers, same, you know what I mean, same product, same everything, except different mindset. And they can either completely overproduce compared to what the other person was doing, or the other. And it always comes back to, oh, well, this isn't a good territory. This isn't a good this. There's no money here. The people here don't have money. And it's like, they're just, so if you listen, you can start to hear the limiting beliefs come out, or what the narrative is happening. But it starts so much deeper than that. And so what you're saying, obviously, is you need to go deeper into the subconscious to really start to flip the switch. So the law of attraction and all of that, mind you, I mean, I'm sure it serves its purposes. It's not deep enough. Is that what you're thinking?
That's right. It's not, because when you think about law of attraction, you're going to attract that which you're vibrating at, like your energetic level. So if you have all these money blocks, guess what? You are not optimally vibrating. So what are you going to attract is less than optimum. So we have to go deep to change the program there. And then just naturally you start to attract. And then the law of attraction, well, the law of attraction is always working. It's just, it's not going to work well if you're all mucked up. right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
these thoughts and these patterns and this, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm afraid of success, I'm afraid of failure. Those are the top 4 women's money blocks, just
Yeah.
as an example. Yeah.
I like the idea of the metaphor of that you don't attract what you want, you magnetize what you are, right? So just like a magnet, right? Who
Yeah.
is going to magnetize, like, so yes, you can want things, but if you have not embodied that energy, like if your energy is not already there, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like so I think, so just, you have to start with you. Like you have to start with you, and then, yeah, right. Like fingers in. So how do you, obviously for any listeners that are tuning in, I'm sure you can relate, when you're in a position or a situation that is scary, you're in it, you are in the
Right.
muck of the money situation that you don't want to be in, lack of money, or in debt, or just that fear. How do you get from point A to point B? Because obviously, yes, I need to work on my subconscious, but I'm being smacked in the face with my reality every day,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. So I would say the very first thing that needs to happen is to regulate the nervous system.
Okay.
Because if you're under the influence of fear, your brain, your body, your mind, your heart, everything thinks that you're being chased from a saber-toothed tiger and there's a fire after you. So until you start to calm that down, there's nothing you can do that's going to actually be sustainable and
Mm-hmm.
really valuable, because you're always going to be bumping up against that, like, there's the tiger, oh my god, the tiger's still after me. So that would be the first thing. And there's exercises that I teach that teach you pretty simply how to regulate that nervous system. So it's like, for example, if somebody is just screaming in pain, they're in huge pain, well, we need to be able to get them into some surgery, so they're, maybe this is not the best metaphor, but it just came to me, they need to be sedated so
Yeah.
that they can be worked on,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of the same thing. We need to be calm, but you can't just go, oh my God, I'm going to be calm right now. Or you can't just go, okay, I'm going to take 5 deep breaths. Okay, that helps a little bit, but that doesn't solve it. So I'm into solving the problem, so you
Yeah.
don't have to deal with it again, right?
Right.
And so this is all about what we're talking about, is to have this change happen with the person so that they really can have a successful business. They can grow and scale their business. Because I can give you or anybody the best tools and knowledge. Like, you can go to the top schools, you can go to the top gurus, you can learn it, you can know it even. Like, you can know it, but you can't do it until your mind, your body, and your heart set and your relationship with money is shifted. And that also includes changing your story about money. Your story about money, though, is a byproduct of your programming. So if your story is, oh, money's hard, money's tough, I'm this, I'm that, money hurt me once, I'm not doing that again. Or the poor people in Africa, they need money more than I do, so I'm gonna I'm okay here. I'm eating some crackers and water, and that's really all I need, so I'm just, so that other people can have more. Horsepucky. There is enough for everybody.
Right.
I'm calling the horsepucky card on that. Enough for everyone. And we all need to put our oxygen mask on first, because how else can we serve other people if we are not
Yeah.
functional and capable and happy and a little bit higher up on Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of needs? We
Right.
have to do that. We have to stabilize ourselves, then we can help others.
That's a really important point. And I think because that's usually it's very easy to start getting into doing. Oh, I need to do this. I need to try this. I need to do that. And
Yep.
everything that is, not going, it's like hacking at the branches instead of actually going to the root of what the issue is. And, when
Right.
you look at, not, kind of going back to business, and obviously, we're talking a lot about starting businesses or up leveling a business that you currently own. The statistics are staggering how many startups fail. And
Right.
I don't believe it's because people just didn't learn or have the right strategy or have a
No,
good idea. I
no.
honestly don't. I do not believe that. I think that it is 100% because they spent a lot more time focused on the building and the doing, and
Mm-hmm.
they missed the most important step, which is making sure that they had done the work on
Right.
themselves, that they were, you know what I mean? Like that they had done the work, that they had made sure that subconsciously and consciously their belief systems were in line with what they were trying to create. And then that's when the flow happens. And so that's again why I'm so glad we're talking today and that we get to share this with these listeners. In terms of, someone who is starting a business, okay, what do you recommend they do to make sure that they are creating a healthy money mindset?
Okay. Well, a
I know it's a
no-brainer
big
to
question.
come take my course, but
No,
short
no, no, for sure.
short
No,
of that,
truly. Yeah.
like seriously, when people take my Mind Over Money makeover course, like clockwork, they make 2 to 4 times the amount of money they're making within 6 months, many of them within 2 months.
Mhm.
Because once you clear that stuff out, holy Toledo, the Red Seas have parted. Everything is possible. Things you used to say no to, you will now say yes to because you feel better about it. And things that you didn't even see before,
Mhm.
opportunities, people, resources, that they were there. Trust me, they were there. You couldn't see them, or you didn't feel right about saying yes to them. And those shiny objects, those shiny squirrels that you used to chase, you don't even want to chase those anymore. Those are not interesting. All they are is distractions. You can just go, boom, here it is. Here's my mission. Because what most of us really want is to make a difference in the world.
Mhm.
That's really what we want. I mean, money is kind of a stepping stone to doing that. And the more money you have, the more impact you can make. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, if it was just you and your time, you only have 24 hours, there's only so much you can do with your time, even though people
Right.
want the help personally. So much more you can do and impact you can have when you have money.
Mhm.
And Bill Gates, I love this quote he gave. I actually heard him interviewed years and years ago. And the interviewer said, um, oh, you have so much money, you have billions and billions and whatever, and you must have the greatest life ever. And, what do you do with all your money? And Bill said, up to a certain level, money is good, for my lifestyle. I can do this, I can do that. I can have a couple houses, I can have some cars, I can have whatever. But beyond that, any level of money above that, the only utility to me is how I can help other people with it.
Yep. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what we're talking about.
Well, because I know plenty of very wealthy people that are very unhappy people. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, you're chasing this golden carrot thinking when I get there and I'm going to have
Right.
that financial freedom and I can buy this and buy that, but then once you get there, it doesn't, like, our expansive nature is just that we'll continue to want to expand, but the problem is that the fulfillment side of it doesn't come with the dollars as much as I think those think that it will. And so when you have that underlying, like, how can I help, how can I serve, when I get into this point, I feel like that fuel will also get you through those times when you need to be emotionally resilient and you need to be able to bounce back, because you're gonna come up against things that are gonna be
Right.
hard and
Right.
failures, and you need to have that why that is more than just the dollars. But the
Right.
dollars help you do, like you said, so much amazing work in the world, which I think was what we're all wanting to do. um Question for you on, so if you're looking to, I know you work with a lot of businesses to help them scale, to help them grow. What
Right.
is some, high level advice that you could give to the listeners that are in a business right now and they're really looking to grow it to the next level?
Okay. Make sure that you are solving a problem that is a raging pain problem. And somebody has the ability to pay you to solve it. And they have the eagerness to pay you to solve it. Because if you just have a raging pain, but they don't want to pay, or they can't pay, or they're not eager to pay, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to have all three of those: the pain, the eagerness to pay, and the ability to pay. Like they want to throw their credit cards at you. That's the problem you need to be solving. Not all of these namby-pamby things, or even not even problems people talk about a lot necessarily. I mean, they are going to talk about it, but some of the ones that are squawking around, all these like seemingly huge problems, but people don't want to pay to solve them. You don't want to make a business around that. And that's
Right.
the fastest way to, my opinion is, you have to have that to be able to scale anything.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're not going to be able to scale it. You'll, blind squirrels do get nuts occasionally, but you don't want to rely on that as a business model.
Right. It needs to be solving I know there's only a few real human needs, right?
Right.
And survival, and the way that our brains operate it's always going through that lens. Like, is this going to help me? Is this going to help me do this, this, and this? You know what I mean? And it's a short little list.
Right.
And it's like, it could do with money, like security, and safety. It can be with fulfillment, like in purpose and relationships. And then I think there was one other one, but anyways,
health is
and health. So if that, what you're doing, like you said, the raging pain, right, is associated or can be drummed down to one of those three, then as long as you're communicating that, that's a good point. So that, you're going to have a consistent thriving business, because it's something that every single person, right, is going to relate to, and on a deeper level even need, and not even know why they need it. So
exactly. So you can look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid.
Yeah.
You're starting at the bottom with shelter. Well, even below shelter is the basics, like air. If you want to dial it down, air. You must breathe, or you're going to die in about a minute and a half. So you need oxygen, you need food, you need water. Like, those are the basics. We're assuming people have those. Like, if you're, and that is a raging pain, but that's more of a raging pain for a doctor, unless you're a doctor, like, then stay away from that. You need to go within your industry. And then once you get that problem solution determined, you need to make sure that that problem is the dog whistle to your target market. So you have to pick your target market wisely, so that when they hear it, they go,
what?
She's talking about me. She knows my problem. I need that. I want what she's having. That's the trifecta right there. You got to have that, or all the Facebook ads in the world are not going to help you.
Right. Because you're not, it's like, I like the dog whistle analogy, actually. That's because it's true. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've, you're scanning. I mean, it's just media overload. It's, and then there's one thing that pops out of you, and you're like, So like, if you can just put yourself in your own shoes of how you consume and what gets your attention, it's actually quite simpler than we think we make it to be, because we can usually use our own experience as a good gauge, for what it's going to take to get that information out there and speak to that problem, that pain point to the audience, right?
That's right. It's all about having the strategy.
Yeah.
And the strategy starts with what we talked about, the problem solution, making sure that it fits with the target market, making sure it aligns with the values with your target market. Then you need to be able to get the word out. Like, how are you going to get the word out? I call that lead generation. So you got to get it out to people. Then you need a follow-up system. Then you need a sales system. Then you need a delivery system. And you, somewhere along the line, if you have any size of a company, you need some leadership skills. And so that is all what I do. That's my secret sauce, is to build that entire strategy or pieces of it, so that it sets you up for the biggest and fastest success possible.
Right. So question for you, that I think is a good one for anyone to hear. When it comes to pricing and valuing your services or your products,
Yep.
so what are your recommendations there? And I know it's a big question for a short
Yeah.
amount of time, but high level, what's your advice?
Okay. Pricing. Well, I'll talk about what people don't normally talk about,
Okay.
because there are some basics, but we're going to talk a little more pro tips here.
Mm-hmm.
So you personally must be aligned with your pricing. Just because somebody comes along and says, oh, you need a high ticket product or price tag, if you don't, with every bit of your being, if you don't believe that, if you don't align with that, you'll never be able to sell it. And the same thing goes even with a cheap price tag. People are like, oh, I'm going to sell this for $49. If you don't align even with the 49, if you're thinking that's too cheap, like this is really worth more, like I should charge more, you're not going to sell it either. So
Yeah.
you have to have that alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a pro tip that
Okay.
I've not seen any other person speak about for pricing.
No, I actually really agree with you on that, because you do get a lot of I'm not a big fan of the hard and fast. You know what I mean? Like when someone says, this is the way, da 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 da, because I do use my intuition to make a lot of decisions. And I think people do need to trust their gut. Like, how are they feeling about it?
Right.
I do think that some people have a tendency to undervalue their services, which, again, if you put yourself in the mind of the consumer, like for me, sometimes if something is priced way below competitors or market value, I question the quality. I question, what am I going to get? You know what I mean? Like they say,
Right.
you get what you pay for. So would I rather spend a little bit more and get, and again, it's just perceived, because I don't know if that person who's more expensive is going to be more valuable, but I perceive them to be, because they're priced higher, you know?
I have a great metaphor for this.
Okay.
When I lived in New York City, I'm actually also an award-winning international artist.
Right.
And so I got a referral to this guy. I don't remember his name, but he was some huge rap star producer, just bought this building down in Soho, hotsy totsy, and he's looking for art on his walls. And so when I walked in, there were these huge pieces of art that were graffiti, not
Yeah.
my style, but I'm sure for a rap person, that's, something they like. There we go, target market to product, right?
Yeah.
But mine are abstract, so he loved mine. He already looked at it, he loved it. I go up, I give the presentation. He's like, I love your art. I want it. I want it on my walls. Like, I want to do an art show for you. This is fabulous. I'm like, great. When do we get started? And he goes, well, what's the price? My most expensive piece was $10,000. So I said 10,000.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I could never sell that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, your art needs to be 100,000 or I can't touch it. And I don't want to touch it, even though he loved it. So to
That's
your point,
insane.
it happens. So
It
I lost the
does.
sale because I didn't charge $100,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you could have, but again, at where you
Right.
were at that
Yeah.
moment, you weren't there. You weren't like, if you would have
There.
tried to, if you would have opened with that, it's 100,000, but in your mind, inside, you were like, ooh. Like, I also think that's when you get a really big energetic dissonance. Like, I'm fascinated by the idea of energy and sales and how they play together. And I think that when you can say, okay, I'm going to talk myself into this price. Let's just say your price is $1,000. I'm going to talk myself into it, even though I kind of believe I kind of think I'd be more comfortable around 500, but I'm going to try to go for 1,000. And then when you're actually in your pitch, or you're in that sales conversation, that person on the receiving end is going to feel like something's a little off, and they won't even know why. They're going to be sitting there like, I just don't know. I don't know what, I just, something about it. She seems confident. She seems like she knows what she's talking about, but there's something that seems a little weird, versus when you are like 100% embodying, like, I know that this service is worth this, or this product is worth
Right.
every penny. They can feel that too. They'll feel like, they'll feel comfortable. They'll feel trust. You know what I
Right.
mean? They'll feel, because we communicate energetically before we do anything else, right?
Right.
So
That's right.
it's an interesting concept. Well, gosh, I feel like I could talk to you for ages about this because
Well, we're having so much fun.
there's just so much to talk about. But I'm really glad that you were able to share some, I feel like some really practical, tangible actions and steps and things to think about in your own business and your own financial world and your own obviously internal world when it comes to money. So
Mhm.
before we close out, I know that you very generously offered a free gift for our listeners. Do you want to tell them about it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
It's called mymoneyblocks.com. It's a super fun quiz. It's 2 minutes. You go in and you get to see very clearly where your money blocks are. And so
Okay.
it's no obligation, nothing. You just get to take the quiz, and then it gives you a report with, where you are and what you're doing. And then, if you want to go further, of course, I'm available for you. We have
Yep.
lots of, paid programs, but that is just a free gift to help you get started.
Thank you so much for that. That's very generous and really cool as well, because
Yeah.
within 2 minutes, if you can start to identify, where it's all about self-awareness, right? It's all
Right.
about really honing in and that's where the greatest changes and the greatest transformations happen. So thank you so much, Olympia, for joining me today and for joining all of us and for everyone that's tuned in. Thank you for continuing to join us on this journey and to invest in yourself, continuing to learn and expand. And I hope that you feel like you're moving closer to taking those steps towards your goals. I hope to see you again tomorrow. We have more speakers to come with lots of wisdom to share. So I will see you again soon. Bye, Olympia.
Bye. Thank you.